I come from the Washington, D.C. area. It's in the States, right outside the Washington, D.C. area, which is very intense energy. And needless to say, I've been there for a very long time, and that's predominantly where I practice, is in that area. So I've been studying Feng Shui for quite a while, 15 years or something, and was interested in it because my college is in geography, and the original use, as we know, of Feng Shui is the land, the study of the land. So one thing led to another, and early on I realized that you could have the best Feng Shui in the world, but our homes today are so toxic that they could be killing you. So I studied biology, building biology, and incorporated that into a real holistic, I'm a big picture kind of guy. So I wanted to offer you some, right now, 2014 statistics or trends, if you will, and that I came across. And when you start to write a presentation or do something, the synchronicity starts happening, and you get bombarded by all this information. And this just in, right, as I was leaving to go to the airport, the National Center for Biotechnology did research on external stimuli for us. And this pertains to while you're at a consultation. I mean, keep in mind that this is going on for your client as well. In 2000, okay, in the year 2000, the average length of time that an adult could focus, 12 seconds. Okay? In 2013, 8 seconds. And a goldfish, 9 seconds. Okay. So my talk is up. I'm going to sit down. My 12 seconds are up. And you've learned what you're going to learn, and you've retained what you're going to retain. That's pretty intense. That's from outside stimulus from us in our world today. So, and along that line, I came across this article by this great guy. He's an English guy. He's a trend forecaster who wrote this book, Sophistication. And his theory, and he's been doing trending for a long, long time, is that we're at peak stuff. We've reached our limit, that the stuff is not filling us up anymore. It's not bringing us the happiness. It's not bringing us the, in the States they call it affluenza. And actually a kid got off on a crime based on his psychiatrist coming in saying that he suffered from affluenza, which is entitlement, basically. So the trend that he thinks is going to happen over the next 5 to 10 years, and it's a really good thing to align yourself with this, with your Feng Shui business or in your personal life to have things move along, is that people want more experiences. It's not stuff, it's experiences. And they want to talk about those experiences, and the things aren't making them happier. And then another beautiful book. I mean, if you get one book today, and it's not here, but go to the bookstore and get it. It's called The Shape of Green. And this guy ties in everything from design to, cure. We could look at them as cures, but what's going on in the ecology world and our relationship to the earth, because the awareness about the earth and what we're doing to it is increasing, and it's not good. We had one of the worst, weirdest winters I've had in the 25 years I've lived in D.C. And it just, every year, it gets progressively worse with hurricanes and derechos and earthquakes. This is Washington, D.C. Very, very weird. So there is an increased concern about the environment, and some other statistics, 1 in 10 in the States have an off-site storage unit. That's a lot of stuff. And we have big houses. It's a $24 billion industry. If you're interested in investing, the cube at the bottom is a publicly traded self-storage in the UK, and it went from $8 to $18 in 3 years. It's huge, huge business. Gone up 8% in the UK. So people have stuff, too much stuff. And I think in my position, I feel like as a steward of Feng Shui that I need to help people see that role that stuff is playing in their life, and maybe being a part of what they're going through, or they can't change, or any of those types of things. So I look at it as an opportunity. We have baby boomers in the UK and here. It's a huge, huge cohort of people, and they're going through the normal life changes of downsizing and combining their homes. The last 2 clients that called me were doing just this. Or they're dealing with a death in the family. And they have to incorporate that stuff. Okay, and this is a picture of the woman's pseudo dining room apartment after she came back from the weekend of clearing out the father's house and wanting me to come in and help. And what I did and there, you know, speaking of off-site storage, is I take this little puzzle with me to every consultation, okay? Because it's a really good visual, and I show them that we need an empty space in order for the energy to move, okay? And this empty space, depending on the client, can be a dresser drawer. It may have to be an off-site storage unit, you know, for the time being, until they start the energy moving and get it in place and, you know, get some stuff going. Then this, the minute I show this, I pull this out and I show them this, they kind of go, oh, right, you know, I get it. No, but they do it after I leave, I have no idea. So that was the situation here. And this woman's house was kind of a mess even before this process happened. So, yeah, or kind of like a double whammy. I mean, you don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know when somebody in your family is going to die. So, you know, you have to be diligent and stay on top of it. And then I think another reaction to this too much stuff and too thing is this tiny house movement. And in the States, and I think here, Antonio told me it's going on here, and two things are happening here on the left, is that it's all green materials, usually solar, okay, and of the earth, and I think it's a little bit extreme, personally. I couldn't live in a 196 square, you know, I mean, I don't live in a big house, but I think that's extreme. On the other side, I think that's extreme as well. And while we were doing this in the States, they were buying up farms and, you know, creating McMansion communities. That has slowed down, but I just learned the other day that they are still doing it, but they're going into neighborhoods that already exist and tearing down these like bungalows and building these monstrosities. I think they're, you know, and my experience with them during the heyday when they were being built, you know, 100 a week or whatever, and I would be called in for a consultation. I was always called in because they were like, we just can't get comfortable in here. It's way out of proportion. Every room is too big. I spent 3/4 of the consultation dealing with rooms that weren't used. And how to get them, like say they have, I remember this one Asian family, huge, I mean 12,000 square feet, huge. And extended family lived there, mother and father lived there with them. And they both had their own separate businesses. And they wanted me to figure out how to get both their desks in one room, because they like to be near each other. Okay, we have a 6,000 square foot basement, and the only thing down there is their puja room. That was it. So over and over and over again, it was like I couldn't tell them any more person didn't hang a pendulum clock, you know, in a room that's used once a year. I mean, what do you do with that vacant energy? It's just there's no way to fill it up on a consistent basis. So I think that we, as Feng Shui, can bring to the table through global awareness or any of the affiliates and stuff like that is, you know, proportion. Can we just be reasonable in proportion? And the other phenomenon that's going on with the tiny house, community. They aren't doing these in a vacuum. They aren't buying a lot and sticking their tiny house on it. They want to be in a community. So in DC, they set up on an empty lot. And they just kind of like, you know, eminent domain or whatever, took it over. And there's a whole, you know, 20-something community that built all of their houses by themselves, you know, with products that they made. And so it's an interesting movement about what's happening. And again, they use all natural materials, solar, usually totally off the grid. So nature, Carla talked about nature. We are very distant from it. What it can bring, I mean, there's research after research after research of the benefits of going out, even for just your 30-minute walk. And you can get all of these benefits from going out into nature. And I think that we need to educate, continue to educate, continue to tell people, kind of beat that drum until you can't beat it anymore. And the biggest thing is that it expands your world. You know, if you travel or you get out of your space or your office or wherever you are, it expands your world, even though, you know, the traffic's irritating and, you know, the weather is irritating and everything else is irritating. It's really, really good for your chi to get out and see that bigger world. And I'm going to disagree here with Carla. This is my buddy here. I love him very much. He is a character. Anybody, friends on Facebook, knows what a character he is. And he does sleep with me. And I'm glad he does. So I love him very much. And I think if you have an animal like that can bring you joy and, you know, is there when you come home and jumps up on your shoulder and, walks around your apartment with you, then I think that's a good feng shui and good qi. So how does feng shui, again, how can we bring our knowledge and its awareness really to the different situations? For me, I'm always connecting the dots for my clients. They seem to be very short-sighted, even in rooms. Like this room is connected to that room energetically, and how can we bring them together so that you can make more use of them, or better use of them, or feel like you want to go in. Like, if you ever did a consultation where you go in and the first thing they point to is like, oh, this is from Aunt Mabel, I hate it. And you're like, whoa. So you have to connect the dots. They don't get that. They just know that they don't like her or the painting. So it's one step further that, you like to say, you realize what you just said about the painting or about whatever. And they just it makes them stop and think about what it is that they need to do. And be inspired, however you get inspired, however that is. For my cat, for me it's my cat, or I take a class. I mean, it's sort of continual motion. There has to be some sort of continual learning, I think, and motion with regards to energy work, and feng shui is a piece of that. That's how I feel. I don't feel like I'm done. If I say I'm done, I'm in trouble. I feel like I'm in trouble. Creative ideas. You have to be very creative. You have to, pull out your toolbox. The many things that were on the front page, which could, come into play given the situation. You don't really know until you get in there and find out. And then the essence of the guas and the bagua, when I first got into feng shui, it was very wealth and relationships. Everybody wanted wealth and relationships. They wanted the money and the man. And it was, I think we need to pull that, we need to get even bigger than what I put up here, go back to the I Ching, go back to the trigrams. Because you can expand that your DNA and your energy when you walk into the room, and give people other options about what they could possibly move or change or do, with a deeper understanding of what that means. Where do those come from? Symbolically, energetically, all of those things. And then we're going to look at a different kind of a cure, somewhat different. I mean, Jody's pens, pencils, or what I thought they were just magnificent. They're beautiful. And very, very apropos for my presentation. I wish you would bring them in here. So we're just going to take a little bit of a look at the anatomy of a cure from my point of view. And these are some of the qualities that I think that a cure should have, or an adjustment, or something that you introduce with your intention within your environment. And the story, we're back to the story. People want to tell their story. They want their story to be heard. They want to tell stories about where they've been, what they've done, their family, on and on. So, I mean, even Jody's story, I go back to Jody with the pens and giving them to you, send them a gift. I mean, that's a story. So when they're in your house and you see them, you go, oh, well, I got those from Jody. It goes on and on and on. So, beautiful, colorful, tactile, feel it, touch it, pick it up. Sensory, emotionally sustainable. So if you have no affiliation with the elephant's trunk being down, or you don't remember, or you have to look it up, there's no connection. You've lost, there was a connection and you've lost it. So you either make a new one or get something that renews that connection. And locally, I'd like to buy local and support local. I like to support local artists, local, my friends, anybody that's into that type of stuff. I enjoy doing that. So here we have two puppets on the left here. Okay, on the left puppet I got 15 years ago on a Feng Shui Vastu Shastra study tour with Roger Green, and I've had him ever since. The one on the right I just got when I was in New York. And I went up to New York to see a friend of mine of Mice and Men. And Chris O'Dowd plays Lenny, if you know the story of Mice and Men. And I am a huge fan of him in Doctor Who. And I love that show, so I went up there. And that puppet is from that weekend. And I also got his autograph. So, because my friends in the play. So those kinds of experiences are very aligned. I mean, I'm not going to forget the story about the puppet on the left. I may forget which province we brought him in, but that was an incredible study tour and a life-changing experience for me. On the right there is a picture from Puerto Rico, which I bought. I went 3 years ago, and that is where I was born. So, and I love the colors, and I love the energy of the islands. I love how laid back it is. It reminds me to kind of, chill out. And so those are both up at my apartment. They're in my apartment, and when I see them, I have those stories. And people ask me, I can tell them the story. And the other thing about the cure is context. I can't tell you how many consultations I've done, and God love them, their intention was right. Is, they have a Victorian decor, they have pottery barn or whatever, and they stick some really odd thing in the corner and, say, oh, I read it in a Feng Shui book, it's my cure for ABC. Totally out of context, okay? So it's another area where you have to help them and tell them that they are allowed to have different things as a cure, that it doesn't have to look, it doesn't have to be like that. So on the left, again, in context, you see this huge painting of Wonder. It's called Wonder, and it's in my living room. You can see the context is the color, okay, with the main colors in my apartment. And that the context of the colors, and also the one on the right, I was with my mother when I went to Puerto Rico, because I was born there, and she just passed away. So now it has a lot of emotional sustainability. Okay, so I will never forget that trip. I'll never forget bringing the painting home from that trip. And then the one on the bottom is another local artist friend of mine, and I just think it's a great thing for the helpful people. It's like I look at that and it's like, oh my God, somebody's helping me out. Somebody's pulling me up the hill. Because sometimes it just feels that way, and you just need that help. So she's a teacher. She's an art teacher, and I really enjoy her art. So how can we summarize? I think there is a major shift happening. It's not going to happen overnight. Nothing seems to. In priorities and awareness, and I think that we're the energy of Feng Shui has been brought to us to be stewards of that information. That there are no coincidences that but our life today is not, obviously not the same even if it was 10 years ago. You're still fighting against this force of more. The more is better, and I want more, and I want the newest and greatest. And help people tell their story, that their story is important, that it's valid, that it's spending time. I have a friend that I work with occasionally, and his son is getting promoted on Monday, and he was asking me, he was hemming and hawing about taking a day off to go for it. And I was like, take the day off. A lot happens after your mother dies. A lot shifts, your perception shifts, a lot of things become a lot more important. So he's going to take off, and he's going to go, and the kid will probably get promoted 10 more times, So I think that we're here to help them with their experiences and presenting that in a contextual way in their home, and a way that they can express their story onto the, and have that up as like a gallery of their home. And I think that might be it. Thank you.